Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Hamid. I hope that you're doing well. I want your attention. I hope that you're ready and set for English 11. Now, in English 11, we are going to cover another student's learning outcome. This is our lecture number 4, and we are going to deal with the competency of reading and critical thinking. Now that we are done with grammar and we did one SLO from the vocabulary section, we are going to do this with reading and critical thinking. This is our students' learning outcome. I hope that I'm audible enough for you. Now, let's read the students' learning outcome and see what we are supposed to do. Give an informed, personal, and analytical response to a text and provide some supporting textual reference. Now, since this is all about reading, so when we are reading something, when we are reading and engage with a text of any sort, of any category or any subgenre, now we are going to see that while reading the text, it is very important to respond to the text. You can respond it in different ways. You also usually do at the end of at the end of the text, you come across some questions to answer. Now, those questions can be of different types. It can ask you for a personal opinion, your analytical response, and some informatical questions. Now, we are going to see that how, as a reader, as a good reader, we can actually respond to any text, because responding to text is very important for our understanding of the whole thing that we are reading. Now, there are informed, personal, and analytical response that we need to give to the text for increasing our comprehension and ultimately our understanding. Now, you see that while you are responding to the text, sometimes you are asked to present a reference or textual evidence or reference from the text that you have read. Now, these things are very important. And also in the perspective of your exams, you are given a passage, you are given something to read, and then you are asked some particular questions about that text. It could be analytical, in your informed personal response, and so on. And even apart from this examination point of view, when you are reading something for any purpose, for pleasure, for getting persuaded, for if you're reading advertisements, if you are just reading for entertainment, for information, you can see that you can answer, you can respond to the text, which is very important, using these kind of responses that we have. Let's see how this works, how we can respond to any text. You can see the SLO's number over here as well. This is the vertical linkage that you can see, and you can relate it to the previous grades. You can find it in the curriculum that you have in the progression grid, that these SLOs are taken from that, and we are going to cover these SLOs in our lecture series. Now, before we begin our lesson, like we usually do, I need you to storm your brains. I need you to think a little bit about our topic. I hope that you have understood it. This is about reading something and responding to the text, right? And you can respond to it in different ways. Sometimes you are asked to respond to it in that particular way, or sometimes you just want to enhance your comprehension and your overall understanding. So this relation between reading and responding the text is very important. They go side by side, they are very important, and this is very much important for your reading and critical thinking, because in analytical kind of questions and responses, you actually think critically and then you answer that question. Now, why is there a need to respond to any text we read? What are the ways of responding to the text? Responding means to actually respond to the text, to actually connect with the text. Now, at this point, if you have any kind of question, if you want to answer this brainstorming session, you can leave a comment in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and then give an answer. Why is there a need to respond to any text? Can't we just read and get over with and move on? Why is there this particular need of responding to the text?
Sir, we need to form an opinion.
Yes, to form an opinion, to make an interpretation, to get most out of the text that we are reading. It could be of any genre, of any category that we have in front of us. Now, what are the ways of responding to the text? Now, there are different ways. You get asked questions of different sorts, like you connect that with yourself and give an informative personal response, or you give an analytical response to make your interpretation and your understanding. And you have to be very critical about it. You have to be logical and rational. And meanwhile, in this way, you can also quote something from the text. You can use it as a reference, as a evidence from the text to support your response and support your answer. So I hope this is very much clear. I've done this brainstorming session with you. I hope that you have some insights about it. If you'd like to share, then I can wait for a few seconds. All right. Now, textual response or responding to the text, this is what we are talking about. Why is there a need to respond to a text? Let's see. Now, this is what we are doing. We are actively reading. When we are responding, we are actively reading rather than just passively going through the text and not understanding half of it or most of it. So you need to be active readers in any situation, whether it's in your examination or you're just reading for some other purposes, for your research, for formulating any kind of article or doing any essay. Now, by actively engaging with a text through responding, we can gain a deeper understanding of its message and the author's intent, the author's purpose, which is also very important. That why did the writer, the author, write this text? What is the purpose behind writing this? Because some author does not write just for the sake of writing. There's a purpose. He or she needs to convey something to you, and he or she wants to make you understand what they're talking about. So there could be so many different intents for entertaining you, to make you laugh using humor, to give you a moral lesson, to entertain you, to give you information, or there could be so many other reasons. Now, this is very important when we are reading. We need to be very much aware of the author's intent so that we can get the message clearly and respond to it accordingly. We are not just passively consuming information, but actively processing it and forming our own interpretations. Now, a passive reader is a reader who does not understand most of the things because the activity is not there. They are not actively engaged and not responding to the text. So we need to be active readers and form our own interpretations, because we are entitled to our own opinions and interpretations. We have this freedom. So we need to interpret the text according to our own understanding, but it should be very much critical, logical, and also you can call it rational. So we need to make our own interpretations. So this is why there is a need of responding to the text that we are reading for any purpose that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Now, we talked about different kind of responses. Now let's see. Here you have informed response. You don't just give your opinion, you back it up. You back it up with what? With reference, with evidence. And it should be based on some kind of connection to the text. We use specific details, quotes, or examples from the text to show why you feel the way you do. if somebody asks you about your interpretation of the text that you have just read. This means that they are asking for your informed opinion. Next, we have your personal opinion, and if you combine them together, this makes a very good informed personal opinion. It contains both of these things and they are very important. It's your response. It's your personal response. Share your thoughts, your feelings and interpretations based on how the text affected you. Now, a text can leave different effects and impacts on different readers. So why did you find it interesting? Why the text you're reading is interesting to you? Is it according to your likeness? Does it intrigue you in any way? And challenging or thought-provoking? Does it inflicted a thought in your mind? Now, all of these questions can be answered and they will be called your personal response and your informed response about the text. And when you are answering such questions about the text, you need to be sticking to the text and also quote something from the text that you like so that your answer is backed up with the reference from the text or textual reference. Now, let's talk about this one, which is very important, analytical response. Now, analytical responses are very important that you give to the text. It enhances your understanding and it opens so many doors for you for different interpretations. You have to go beyond the surface level understanding. You have to dive deeper into the text. Analyze the author's techniques, underlying message, and how they shape your interpretation. Now, what does this mean? The writer uses many techniques, literary techniques, to beautify and glorify the text. We need to be aware of those things so that we can know that how to take the effect of those words, those phrases accordingly, and how the way the text is structured, is made, it is formatted, is very important, and it adds up into our understanding and interpretation. We see the underlying message. There could be sometimes implicit meaning in the text, subliminal messaging, messages that are hidden, that are layered, and you have to get to them in order to have a complete and full understanding, and how they shape your interpretation. All these things will ultimately shape your interpretation, and your interpretation will be very much analytical and logical and also supported by the textual references. Now, analytical questions ask you technical things, and when you are responding to such questions, you adopt the same manner. You think critically and make a critical response, which is also called analytical response. Now, let's take an example. You're reading an article, a news article, which describes a community coming together to plant a garden. Now, if you're reading this text, the text of this news article, there can be two things. One, you give your informed personal analysis, you connect it with your own experiences, your own understanding to make it relatable to you and answer to that question so that it shows your overall understanding of the text. You notice the language used, the words like community, effort, or working together. So these are very positive words. They invoke a sense of positivity that the writer wants to convey to you. You make personal connection with the text. You might remember a time you volunteered in your neighborhood or helped within a community project. So it actually motivates you. This kind of response makes you relate to the text and makes you come up with new ideas to be a part of helping and volunteering more people with different kind of projects. If you combine these both, you could explain how the article's emphasis on the teamwork reminded you of the positive feeling you had working alongside others for a common good in your own experience. Now, this will give you an opportunity to introspect about yourself, to give you a self-reflection. And this way we can say that the reader, for example, we are actually actively engaged in the text rather than passively engaged in the text. And we have read the article, we have understood it very well, and we got the hidden message, the overall message and essence of the news article that we are reading. So responding in an informational way and personal way is very important. Now, you can ask yourself questions like, does the text remind you of any personal experiences, beliefs, or values? These are some basic generic questions that you can ask yourself, or you can respond to them if they are already asked from you after the text, after the comprehension passage that you are reading. Ask yourself, does this remind you of any personal experience? You can mention it in the response, in the answer, or beliefs or values. Next, how do the ideas or events in the text connect to you, to your own life or the world around you? So you can see the things accordingly in a pattern, in a wholesome way. Now, has the text challenged your perspective in any way? If you have a limited perspective about anything before reading the text, now after that you have read it, has anything clicked in your mind? Has anything changed in you? You can respond with this kind of question, that how it challenged your perspective as a person. So this is also adding up to your response to the text. And did you find the text relatable or thought-provoking? Why or why not? So at the end, you could ask, is it really relatable? Did you relate? Did you feel a connection with the text? And if yes, then how? If not, then why not? Now, in this way, we can say that by using this, we read the article in a very, like an active reader who responded to the text, answering these kind of questions and responding in this way that relates to us. So we can say that the intent of the purpose, if it was to invoke this feeling, this motivation in you, is fulfilled now. Analytical questions. Now these are some questions that you can ask if you want to analytically respond to the text in the form of an essay, a letter, if you want to write, if you are inspired and you want to write a poem on it, or if you want to just write so many different kind of stories. So what are the main ideas or arguments presented in the text? You can mention that in your response, and you can back it up with your textual evidences and textual references. How does the author use language? And that includes your diction, tone, figurative language that is used in the text to achieve specific effects. Now you will be very critical and technical about it. You will see what kind of language, idioms, proverbs are used, some other literary and poetic devices that are used in the text, the kind of diction, the tone. Is it positive? Is it engaging? Or is it just discomforting or pessimistic? So you can actually analyze these things and respond to it accordingly. What are the key characters or elements? This is for fiction, if you're reading any fiction, and how do they contribute to the overall meaning? Let's say if you are asked about it and you want to write a summary or a thematical analysis of this, so you can follow these things. You can talk about the key characters, the elements, how do they contribute to the overall structure, the overall plot, and obviously the story of the fictional text that you have just read. What is the historical or social context of the text? How might it influence the meaning? This is for non-fiction. Are there any literary devices used like symbolism, foreshadowing, etc.? And how do they contribute to the analysis? All these two are for fiction. Does the text present a clear message or theme, and how is it conveyed to you? So by answering these questions, keeping them in your mind and then responding to the text, whether you're writing a proper full summary or when you're doing analysis of any sort, or if you are asked a question after reading anything, whether it is in your course or it is an unseen one passage, you can clearly respond to the text accordingly by following all these kind of questions. So be prepared and be ready to respond to any kind of text by following these generic basic questions, and by answering them you can achieve your goal of actually responding to the text as it is asked. Now, here is a simulation link of YouTube. You can open it, watch it anytime. This will tell you that how you can answer those comprehension questions, those critical thinking questions that are asked after the passage. It could be asked after a paragraph, an essay, or any of that. And also you can write a very good review when you're reading any text of any sort, and now you want to rate it or you want to review it. So you can review that following all those questions that we gone through in the previous slides. You can also review it very well. So both are purpose in the point of view of examination, and just generally they are fulfilled just by responding to the text in the way that we talked about, responding to it in an informative way, personal way, and also analytical way. So you can watch this video lesson anytime later. Now this is your classroom activity. I hope that you guys are engaged. Now this is Robert Frost stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. This is the first stanza that you can see over here. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Now this is a stanza. We have just read this. It is a kind of a text. Now, for personal response, you have to ask yourself this very clearly, that how does the speaker's decision to stop and observe the snowy woods resonate or reflect with moments in your own life when you have paused to appreciate nature's beauty. So you can see that this is about appreciating nature's beauty. You have to link it with your own experience and respond to it. Next, you have your analytical question over here, that how does the speaker's choice of setting, a quiet snow-filled woodland, contribute to the poem's exploration of themes? Now this is an analytical sort of question. How? Let's see. We are talking about author's choice of setting, which is the setting is in some cold area, a quiet snow-filled woodland. It contributes to the poem's exploration of themes. What if the setting was something else? Does it contribute to the theme of the poem? So you can pause the video. You can, if you're watching it later, you can pause the video. If you're watching it now, you can get the PowerPoint presentation and go to this slide, read it, and come up with the answers and your response to the text accordingly, according to these two: personal response question and analytical question. Now, here is your worksheet. It will be also attached in the description of the video of Chase's Academy's YouTube channel, where you will be seeing this video later on. Now this is an extract from a novel by Harper Lee. It's called To Kill a Mockingbird. It's fiction. You have to read this whole thing and then respond to the text accordingly. There's analytical, personal, and all these kind of questions that is asked. Just by reading this paragraph, you can respond to it, and this achieves our students' learning outcome, which was responding to any text. Now, for your homework. Now, this is very important. If you do it, then you will understand it fully. You have to choose a short story of any author or a poem from your textbook or any other source that resonates with you. You have to write a 150 to 200 word response that includes the following. First, you will summarize the main theme or message of the text, then explain why this theme or message is meaningful to you personally. This is your personal response. Support your explanation with at least one specific textual reference. You can use a quotation, a quote as a reference, or you can just paraphrase it in your own words, and that illustrates your point. So take any story, let's say The Gift of the Magi or The Necklace, and so many other short stories that you can find online. You can get it in the hard form and also in the soft form. It will be shared with you for your help in your group, in your WhatsApp group. It will be shared, and then you have to read it and then answer these kind of questions that are in front of you, so that we can see that how your understanding evaluated. Yes.
सर वो मुझे थोड़ा सही समझ नहीं आया, आप सही समझा देंगे?
यस, व्हाट क्या कहाँ से आपको प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है? हेलो, can you hear me? Okay, I think she dropped the. Okay, thank you. So this is your homework. Now, this worksheet, presentation, your skill sheet, question bank. Now all these things are attached in the description of the video. You can find it. You can put your knowledge, your learned lesson into practice, and then you can say that you have achieved the student's learning outcome. Thank you so much for listening. Now, if we can go back to the first slide. Now here, we gave an informed, personal and analytical response to a text, and we also see that how we can provide supporting evidences, supporting textual reference in our answers. So this is all about our student learning outcome. Now you can pick up any short story, any text, go through that like an active reader and respond to it accordingly. You can write your responses and you can share with me as well if you like. See you in the next video lesson, my dear learners. Thank you for listening. Allah Hafiz.